County Council. Let's begin with a pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we normally have a local community pastor come and open our meeting with prayer. I did not have anybody available for today, so in lieu of a prayer, I would like to just take about 30 seconds and we can individually pray silently over this meeting, or take some time for introspection, and then we'll continue. Amen. All right, we have the consent agenda here in front of us. Is there any items that need discussed or pulled from the consent agenda for further discussion?
Move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
We've got a motion on the floor by Josh Blue to approve the consent agenda as presented. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Scott Ayers. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
So we'll move on to a review of financial reports. I will report out that both Rainy Day and Riverboat balances are unchanged from last month. Rainy Day at $4.3 million, Riverboat at $337,499. County General sits at $5.4 million. No concerns here at the beginning of the year. Carroll Manor, in a report out of my assigned departments, Carroll Manor has utilized 10.62% of their annual budget year to date. The coroner 8.44% year to date. EMA at 5.82% year to date. Motor vehicle highway at 12.78% year to date. No concerns in any of those departments to report this morning. Scott, I'll send it over to you.
Okay. I don't have any concerns with treasurer, transfer station, assessor. Everyone seems to be doing okay, 1 month in.
My departments are all running 8% below, except for 911. It's running a little high at 35%. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. So I'm here at my office.
Mine are okay, first month in.
I have nothing to report today.
My programs are all in the correct order, 6.59 on the auditor, 5.6, and the clerk is 6.78. Electric board is 0.4, soil and water is 6.8, and the plant is 17.81, because we took the $20,000 for the insurance out and put it in the commissioner's budget. So we're gonna do it. Health insurance.
Josh?
Oh, sorry. So I have commissioner and council, we're both in good order, prosecutor and EMS as well. The one thing I wanted to bring up is CUMCAP, Carroll Manor, Health, are all cumulative funds that, I don't know, I just wanted to put it out. We don't have to discuss it today, but we need to put some kind of timeline on this. We've been talking about this for 5 years probably, about monthly reporting on those, about cash values and what those cash values are for. And now that I have CUMCAP, it's just kind of top of mind, so wanted to put that out there that at some point we have to build a mechanism, and some, like the the information needs to live somewhere, so we don't like, years later have to go back and figure out how much money is in the general fund that's earmarked for Carroll Manor. We've talked about that continuously and never taken action on it, so I just wanna make sure that that becomes a priority for 2023.
Can we put that on the agenda for next month?
I think that would be great.
Did you specify, specific departments that,
Well, the ones that just popped off are Team Cat, the general fund, specifically Carroll Manor inside the general fund, the health department. These are all departments that, well, 911 is another example. We are not appropriating several tens of thousands of dollars on an annualized basis because that money is to be collected to pay for the next major radio upgrade in 15 years, and that's why we're collecting that incrementally. But people look at cash balances and don't realize that they're there for a reason, and then they get spent if we're not monitoring them closely, and then those expenditures come due, and then there's no money in there, and it causes problems. So that's why I wanna make sure that.
Would it be wise to put a couple people on that and have some kind of information and bring it when we discuss it? And
Yeah, I'm up for whatever.
yeah, I agree. I think it's a good, thing to try and further nail down and have a defined process around.
It would help in budget time.
Yeah, I agree. We'll work on that for next month. Anything else from you, Josh?
No, I'm sorry, that's good.
Good deal, thank you. Beth, if you wanna begin with your auditor's report?
Emailed your reports out on 10th. Are there any questions about the reports? The salary ordinance, I put a new one in one of your, beside your chairs today. It's called version 3/2/16/20. And I highlighted what I did change or added. And we added the, second secretary for the murder trial, and if you will notice, it doesn't have MR1 like I had suggested, or the last time. We had to go with numbers, and numbers only, so I put it at the end of county general, so the last, it's like 900, so it's, so it'll be your last thing on your county general budget. And second investigator and special prosecutor. Now, the special prosecutor, I looked at the last bill that we received from a special prosecutor. He was charging $84.52, and on there it stated it was from, July of 22 to June 23, that was the rate. So I talked with Nick, and he agreed that that would be okay. Investigators, hourly rate did not change, but the prosecuting secretary did, so, on both of those. So that was what was changed. The paramedic, part-time, and EMT on the next page was changed for, and that was approved already. All of this has been approved except for the prosecutor's secretary. It just said per statute,
You're talking about the special prosecutor?
right?
Yes.
And I think that is it. Actually, everything has been approved, it's just that you need to sign it. Or just say that. But do you have your verbiage you want to put on here?
Well, yeah, we can, my understanding was that was for the employment offer and a disclosure for the candidate to sign off on. Do you wanna add that to the salary ordinance as well? I don't know that we need to.
I mean, I could put temporary on the side.
You could, I mean, the salary ordinance
If
like,
something happens to you,
is a pretty organic,
it's just for this year.
yeah. But even in that, it changes month to month with the revisions that we have. So,
You got that right.
so the organic nature of the document would suggest that we can pull that off on a temporary basis if that person is no longer employed anyway. I don't know that we need to, Eric, would you?
Not necessarily.
Agree.
I agree.
I was just going by what you said.
Yeah.
In a perfect world that only is done once a year. This is not a perfect
Yes,
world.
this is not.
This is Carroll County Council.
Anything.
You said you could have.
Not just Carroll
Three
County.
in February.
It's just like, it's just like that.
Not just Carroll County.
Okay, so we just need to sign off on this new version,
I mean, it doesn't matter.
and we don't need to, everything in here is passed.
It's done.
Go ahead.
My question was just about how the salary ordinance was reading.
Where it
My
was.
only, I just wanna make note for the record that there's two positions now listed in the prosecutor's office, and like, kind of to what you were just saying, if we're looking at year over year, it just, some kind of footnote to say that one of these is temporary. It's just it's a little unclean.
It has
But-
to do with the number. If you look at the number, that's the one that's temporary.
Look,
It's
Yeah.
a very easy fix, I mean, just
Yeah,
put
yeah.
on there,
So
just put temporary
It
at the
doesn't,
end of it.
it doesn't really matter where it's out on salary roads, but just,
Okay, I'm gonna,
Easy fix.
okay, so can we have a motion to accept this number? I know, but according
Motion
to what's
to
on.
approve that salary ordinance 2023.
B3.
B3. Motion to
Second.
approve.
All right, we've got a motion on the floor to approve the version 3 of the salary ordinance for 2023 by Paul Ryder. Josh Blue seconded. Any other discussion?
It's just an analysis.
She said that she did.
No, sorry.
You sign it, we don't hear.
As long as you voted on it.
You voted on it?
We didn't vote.
If you voted on it.
It doesn't matter.
All right. That's what I asked. Okay, per the salary ordinance discussion, there's a motion on the floor by Paul Ryder, seconded by Josh Blue. Any other discussion? All those in favor of approving version 3 of the 2023 salary ordinance? Aye. Opposed, same sign? All right.
Mr. President, can I just clarify, because it comes up all the time on minutes,
Yes.
and, think of it this way. If you vote on the minutes from last month, today, you're gonna sign it because you said, yep, I voted on it. You don't have to be present at that meeting. The record reflects what happened, and you are approving the minutes, from the meeting, even if you weren't there. And, if there was a change, so if you had minutes in December and there was a complete change in the, because of an election, those people, somebody's gotta vote on it, and so the point being, you're in good shape, you don't have to be present. I think that's a very common misconception, you do not have to be present in order to vote the next meeting to approve those minutes. That makes sense? Yep.
Thank you.
And if anybody wants to see that, invoice from that special prosecutor, I do have it here. He's got the different years. The other thing is that Avantis claims, I've sent everybody, since nobody came to find the agreements, sent the agreement to you. And it was signed by the commissioners, and it was an upgrade for, I don't want to say an upgrade, but the fee is to make the changes to the previously designed jail, and $459,000. Fee remaining from original contract for the construction contract administration services does not change. So I presented a bill for, $219,600 from October, and I think it's, needs to be paid. They did do the work, commissioners had signed it, and you have always wanted to see those claims from Alavantes, but really it was from Jack Krause. So, I'm asking, can I pay this bill?
I appreciate you getting, because this has never been given to us. So this amendment is for $459,000. Do you know if it's, how much of that 459 has been paid? Is this completing that 459?
Nothing has been paid for that.
So this 200, so there's another 200 coming.
Yes, and I have a couple other claims, and I think I talked to Tim about a procedure that I think should be done, so.
So, I mean, my big problem with this and why this is a problem.
$459,000 was the original
Hold on
amount.
just a minute.
Please go ahead.
$459,000 was the original amount, and only $219,600 is left to pay.
No, only,
No, this is the bill that I presented.
that's the
a couple
first
months
bill
ago.
on that, against that.
Yes.
Oh, okay, so there is more to come.
So,
Right, there's two more claims. I'm just presenting this one today because I think that if you have an agreement on file and
Yeah, and I would suggest that invoice is from October. Isn't that correct? I mean, it originated in
the
October.
contract was dated October.
go for it.
Huh?
Go for it.
Both what?
The agreement and the bill was done in October.
Right, and that's what I'm saying, we've never been presented this amended contract. I didn't know that this existed. So, we're just finding this out today. We've committed a cap stack to the bonding company, and this is spending out of that cap stack. So,
I presented this to you with the bill.
We've had
I
it,
sent this.
we've had it for a couple months.
You had it.
We've had the bill, but we
I haven't
haven't
had
had
this contract.
the contract and what the work was they did.
We have the letter that says that there was a contract, and not any of you came to get that agreement that you said you were going to look up. I'm sorry.
So, I mean, my problem isn't with you.
The
So,
problem is that you
The
did
problem
not come
is,
to the council for it.
we had no idea this existed, we committed dollars, that this is also committing. So now we have a shortage, if all this is spent before the bond issuance, or even if bond issuance or not, all those monies are committed.
So the cap stack that we committed to, what's your point here? Can you?
Well, there was,
So the commissioners entered into an agreement
Okay.
that was not disclosed to us. We committed dollars to pay for the jail, not knowing that this existed. And now, after we have already committed the money to the jail, we're being presented with this and asking us to spend the same money that doesn't exist, it's already been committed to the jail budget.
Was the work that was completed for this contract, was it work that has to be done for the new one, but they won't charge us for that because
It is, what they did was they reconstructed the jail design, which was asked by a lot of people.
Which we
including you.
never asked for.
Yes.
so we won't be paying for another jail design.
We are, that's what this is.
Oh, we are?
That's what this 400
This was
some thousand.
already,
No. We already have a jail design, and that's what we're paying for in this contract.
Yeah, the
Are you
redesigned
telling me
jail,
that the people that we want now are gonna redesign it again and charge
and the
us?
same people,
No,
okay,
it's
so let me
always
just,
the same.
I'll just, so we entered into an agreement in 2017 or 18 with Elevatas. It was for the amount, I believe, I'm shooting from the hip here, was 6 or 6.5% of the finished product, that was what we owed them. Okay, so that contract, we paid, I don't even know all that we paid on it, it was probably almost that full amount. Then, fast forward 4 or 5 years to October of 22, the commissioners entered into a new agreement and spent another $400,000, and that had not been disclosed to us. So we committed to a cap stack for the jail, not knowing that this $400,000 contract existed, which is demanding money out of that same bucket that we're paying for the jail.
Seems that we ask Calvadas, the commissioner, to do some additional revision work on changes in the jail. The work's been done, we voted since October, and I think it needs to be paid now, $219,000.
Well, I'm not disagreeing that we have to pay the bill. What I'm agreeing, or what I'm saying is, we don't have enough money to build the jail now, or we're gonna have to find more money to build the jail now. Because this wasn't contemplated in any.
Doesn't this come out of the money that the previous council had set aside? It was $3 million to begin with, or $2 million to begin with? The jail.
I thought it would come out of the jail project,
Yeah.
which is not what he is saying, if that's included in the amount that he.
Okay, so we did include that, what was it, almost $1 million that we've got in that account, roughly?
It's already committed to bond debt service, or to the project. And this is not in the scope of work from B&W.
I see what he's saying, but I also see that we have a company that did what we asked for. I mean, there was numerous times the council said, redraw it, we can't afford it, redraw it, we can't afford it.
You have a motion on it, I've forgotten.
But this was presented to you guys a couple different
I would
meetings.
love.
Hmm?
I said, I don't
No,
recall that.
okay,
And it was,
this has been.
Yes.
I think
And
it was.
states right in there what it is, but my thing is, that should have been included. You guys should have known that you had this, and that should have been
Well-
included in that amount.
I'm trying to get it. I don't
You
want to
can
be lectured
include,
to.
Josh,
I
but
don't want to be lectured to. So this is our meeting. If you want
So-
to lecture me, you can do it
so-
outside of this meeting.
Okay, the problem is that this is what I'm seeing, is that the commissioners who did not come to our meeting, and it's not in the minutes, that we voted to pay this $459,000. That's the problem.
Exactly.
Unfortunately, they've done the work, and so starting the new project, we're already $459,000 out of budget.
Yeah.
That's the problem. So it's a decision of whether we wanna pay it, which I don't see how we can. So I motion to approve to pay it.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor to pay the $219,600 that's billed currently.
More to come, right?
well, let's talk about that later.
You need a second?
Talk about it later. We got a $25 million project that we don't know how to pay for. We don't have a, like.
Just
that-
clarify
that's
what
just
the motion is.
I
I'm
would
just
not-
trying to clarify the motion.
I wanna make a motion that we, pay only the $219,600 right now, which is due in the
That's,
invoice.
I mean, that's the outstanding invoice right
Yes.
now.
Second.
That I
Josh
presented.
seconded.
I wanna add to that motion that I presented, because I've got two more.
Okay, yeah.
It just needs to be a fact that you guys know that there's more to come.
Okay.
But not over the contract amount.
No,
But that is not part of the motion.
That's
The
not
motion is
part.
to pay the $2 million.
Agreed? Okay. We've got a motion on the floor by Tracy Martin, to pay the outstanding balance of $219,600, seconded by Joshua Blue. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, motion passes 7-0.
thank you.
Thank you.
The next thing on the agenda was the joint meeting with the commissioners and ARPA information. At 1:30, I just wanted to remind you of that. I do have some paperwork for you that I can hand out, but I'm gonna hand it out after the meeting. The next thing is the new county general department. When talking to my software people, we could not use letters. I wanted to use MR-1 or whatever, but she suggested just to go to the end of the, county general and use 900. Kind of conflicts, not conflicts, but coincides with the prosecutor with 009 or 900. So, I added those 3 lines, and I do not have the rest of the budget in there. So, do not have the time to finish it out, but it will be done. And then I will give that to the, show the prosecutor what, Nick and I have already talked about, spending the money.
So this is
So
the
he county's gonna hire
Prosecutor
these,
lines.
yeah, these are going, yeah, well, it's for the murder trial, for prosecutor and the sheriff.
It was already done, but this is a new number, is all we're saying.
Yes.
Okay.
I think I wanna take that off the next one off, the transfer authority for the new, at the committee meeting that we did, and that was Josh and myself. It was noted that I would be able to transfer between the fund. I don't think I wanna do that personally. So it'll take longer. Okay. I think that's it.
Okay. Thank you. Eric,
Yes.
you had presented a couple resolutions.
Right, there are two things that you've received. One of them is a resolution. This is the action that you're being asked to take in order to approve the overall funding for the jail project. The resolution does three things. One, it makes a determination that a jail is needed. Two, it approves a lease that you've also received. And three, it pledges and certified shares revenue. And this is required by the overall structure. So you've received both of them. I can tell you that the resolution is one that has been prepared by bond counsel who is here, and I'm going to ask if he may come up and speak. The lease is a pretty standard document, quite frankly. It's a little less beefy than you might see in a regular commercial lease because it is an inside governmental document that is laying out the rights and responsibilities between the building corporation and the county. So it's a good document in my opinion. It's not overly complicated. It's a good thing because again, we're not dealing with an independent third party. We're dealing with someone within county government and it works well. My suggestion would be, Mr. President, if we could have presentation and I'd ask that maybe if we could get an overall 30,000 foot level of what this is, how it works, those other documents that you're not directly related to, but it might be helpful to have some idea about that.
Good morning, council members. My name is Dustin Meeks. I'm with Barnes and Thornburg. We're assisting the county in the issuance of the bonds. So to just give you, so this financing structure is called lease rental revenue bond financing, and the reason that we do this as opposed to having the county sort of directly issue bonds goes way back, and actually you're sort of like the most suited county to the reason why lease rental revenue bond financing exists, because it's the canal's fault. So in the 1830s, everybody was really jazzed about canals, and all of these communities in Indiana were taking out massive amounts of debt to dig canals. And then the railroad came along and was like, hey, we're faster and cheaper than canals. And so a lot of communities went bankrupt. And so since that time, in the Indiana Constitution, there are incredibly strict debt limits. And the General Assembly recognizes that that means that it is prohibitively difficult to do the kind of public projects that are required to maintain the operations of local governments, but they're not entirely enthused about the idea of removing those debt limits from the Constitution. So they have statutorily created this structure, which what essentially happens is that a lease is a current obligation and not a debt obligation. And so the General Assembly has provided that local units of government have the ability to enter into a lease contract with a special purpose nonprofit corporation, a building corporation, and have that building corporation issue debt that is backed by the lease rental payments. So the county is entering into a lease that's a current obligation, so you don't trigger that constitutional debt issue. And the building corporation is going to have the debt obligation that finances the project. And in this way, the General Assembly has authorized you to do the projects that are required at the scale that the Constitution necessarily might have issues with if you did it in a direct debt structure. The way that the approval process works is that the county commissioners have approved the creation at their last meeting of a building corporation, so special purpose nonprofit entity. That building corporation has approved a form of the lease, and the commissioners have approved a form of the lease. Once those approvals are out of the way, the commissioners have to pass through sort of 3 prerequisite steps where they're ready to authorize the execution of the lease with the building corporation, at which point the building corporation, having an executed lease in hand, can turn around and approve issuing bonds backed by that lease obligation. Those 3 approvals are, they have to hold a public hearing, they have to receive a petition from 50 taxpayers of the county, and they need your approval that the project is needed and that the lease is reasonable. So what this resolution does is provides for that. This resolution also provides for the pledge of the lit revenues that the county has decided to pay the debt obligations or the lease obligations under. This pledges those revenues to those costs, which for the bondholders is they want the assurance that the revenues are pledged to that purpose. So if you guys are ready to approve these items today, the next step will be the commissioners will have their meeting at which they'll receive the petitions and hold their public hearing. They'll approve the lease, the building corporation will approve the bonds, and then we proceed through the bond sale process, where those obligations will be issued to the market and the funding will come to the county, so that the DOT contract can be paid out. And that's the 30,000 foot. I'm happy to answer whatever questions you have, but that's kind of the structure and where we are in it.
I move to approve resolution 2032-102 and the lease with the Carroll County, Indiana Building Corporation.
Second. All right, we've got a motion on the floor by Josh Blue, seconded by Ethan Brown to approve resolution 2023-102 and the lease between the county and the Indiana Building Corporation. Any questions or discussion around this? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. All right, motion passes 7-0. Thank you, Dustin.
Thanks, Lonnie.
Okay, next item on the agenda is Nick.
I feel like I went over this 3 or 4 times already, but I initially put this in the budget for the Richard Allen murder case, asking for the additional pay for Shane and I. It's allowed under IC code 36-2-5-14, where the county can supplement the full-time prosecuting attorney and full-time chief deputy with a $5,000 supplement. Did that for a couple of reasons. Our weekly hourly rate is based on a 36-hour rate, or 36-hour week, just like every other county employee. The county has approved to pay each public defender $100 an hour. At my rate, my hourly rate is only, it looks like my current pay, my hourly rate is only $85 an hour. And so with the extra work that we're doing above and beyond 36 hours a week, and now more than 40 hours a week because of the Richard Allen case, I think that is deserved, that we get the extra bump from the county. County never granted it before, and again, it's odd that it's in the middle of the year, but I initially put it in the budget for the Richard Allen case, and so that's essentially what I'm asking for. So, questions, comments? Who doesn't want to approve the extra pay? And then why don't you want to approve it? I guess that's all I'm curious about.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion on the floor by Tracy Martin, seconded by Paul Ryder to approve a $5,000 supplemental pay meant to the prosecutor and deputy prosecutor, is that his title?
Right. So the only 2 that we have in our office that are working is Shane Evans and I. It's the only 2 people we have. Well, we have a part-time through 4D, but not for me.
So, what mechanism we proposing to pay this? How is it gonna be paid?
Would it come out of the 2.1 million that we've allocated for the trial? Wouldn't it come over that?
What, that's what, I mean, are you gonna pay it weekly? Are you gonna pay it in a lump sum? Are you gonna pay it out of the trial? Are you gonna pay it out of diversion? Are you gonna pay it out of the prosecutor's office? Like, there's a number of questions I have. So, I mean, is this a one-time thing that we're doing? Is it is it gonna now be normal and customary? I mean, there's a lot of questions here in terms of how it's gonna be structured.
I guess to make my, oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
So I guess the reason I made my motion is just for what Nick said, is because of the trial and they are having to put so much into it. And so I guess I would only want to do it as a annual, and I would assume that I would probably like to see it come out of the trial expenses. How we pay that is, would it have to be, it would have to go on the salary ordinance, correct?
So,
Can you make a,
It would be? Well, yeah.
yeah, it's compensation.
It's compensation, and it's kind of back to the same conversation we were having before, is it does change, and not just Carroll County, everywhere.
so we'd have to change it like out for this year, and then when we budget, change it back
You want to
for
do
the
a lump
next
sum?
year. That's how I would see the
I don't think
easiest.
we can do a lump sum.
I'm not saying lump sum, I'm saying add it into their wage, to their paychecks for the rest of this year, and then when we budget for next year, we would remove it, and put it back. I know it's give and take, but unless somebody has an easy way.
The $85 an hour that you referenced your pay currently, that's a state statute mandated rate, correct?
Well, I don't know if I don't think it's state statute
It's a state
mandated,
employee.
it's just what the state pays.
Okay.
Yeah, so Shane and I, the deputy prosecutor and I are state employees.
Yeah.
Everything is through the state for us, it's a whole, it's really an odd setup, it's actually a state office, but ran by, some of it is ran by county employees, with the exception of Shane and I, which are state employees, state insurance, benefits, everything through us is through the state. And so it's a little bit, same way with the judge's office, it's the same way, the judges are state paid, but all their supporting staff is county paid.
So the pay discrepancy in terms of the hourly rate, and understanding that there are extenuating circumstances with this trial, I mean, that's really governed by the state, specific to what you're paid.
Well, no, not the public defender rate. The county votes on what the public defender rate should be.
Yeah, okay. Yeah,
And
that's-
so the public defender rate is the county's agreed to participate, in the public defender program, and it's $100 an hour. Some counties don't pay the $100 an hour, some counties pay $80 an hour, $85 an hour, whatever they agree on. And so the discrepancy in pay is what the county voted to do.
The Indiana code that you referenced, is 5,000 the cap on that?
Mhm,
So they
yes.
just offer up to $5,000?
Right.
So it's not even necessarily gonna make you whole in terms of the comparison to the public
No, it's
defender
just gonna
rate?
get me closer. Again, we're based on a 36-hour week. That's just that's how I did my pay, my breakdown pay. I don't remember ever only working a 36-hour week, ever. There's only 2 prosecutors in the county. We file a ton of cases every year. When you're prepping for trial, you gotta prep the whole weekend before, because a jury trial is a big deal. Frankly, all the cases the courts get, they start with us, right? The court doesn't get any criminal cases unless they start in our office. So we examine every police report, whether they're warranted or not, we decide that. If they are, we file charges, and then that's how the process starts. And so, yeah, I don't know that Shane or I have ever only worked a 36-hour week. If we did, you could imagine the problems that would create if we said, okay, by Wednesday at noon, we've got 36 hours, we're just not gonna do anything else until next Monday. That would cause a bunch of problems. That means anybody arrested on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, they most likely would have to be released before we could file charges, because it can only hold them for 48 hours. And so that's just not feasible. That's not feasible if somebody breaks into your house or your house or your house to say, hey, we've worked our 36 hours, we're gonna stop, and just let that person out. That's not what I want for the county anyways. That's not why I took this job, so I could try to make a difference. I mean, that was my plan. And so that's just not the right thing to do. And so we're constantly working 40+ hours every week. And of course, that drops the hourly rate even lower and lower and lower. I've asked for the extra $5,000 every year I've been in office, because I think we're worth it. There's only one other attorney in the county, and no offense, Judge, but this includes the judges, that has more criminal trial experience than me, and that's Pat Manningham. And so, I think the extra pay is worth it. If I have more experience than all the other defense attorneys I'm going against, that puts me in a better position to get more convictions, win more cases, and put more bad people behind bars. And so, we've asked for it every year. I think it's even more warranted now because of the Richard Allen, the amount of work that we've put in for that, and that we're gonna have to put in for that. And so, that's why I'm asking for it.
It's $2.67 an hour.
And
Yeah.
I was just getting ready to
Yep.
say, if you do the numbers,
Yeah.
it's very minute.
It still doesn't get us to the $100 an hour, but it at least gets us closer, and so, you know, I mean,
So
I made the motion to pull out.
How do you wanna pay them? Put by the hour?
you can't pay them. There's no way to do it. I mean, because, I mean,
Well, what do we do?
I mean, so I
Well, I
would
hate to
propose,
say the word,
I-
but I know they've done stipends or whatever
I
that
would-
is
I would
before,
propose-
but how did you pay those?
I would propose that we pay the $5,000 at the end of the year for service of the whole year. That's it, that's the only mechanism. Otherwise, we're 6 weeks into a pay cycle, then we gotta figure out what that 5,000 over so many pay cycles is, and it's super messy. So just pay it all in one lump sum at the end of the year. 'Cause
It's
it'd be-
super messy.
It
Why
is
at
super.
the end?
I don't think it's super
Why
messy,
at
but
the end?
however you wanna pay it, I
Why
don't
at the end of the
Yeah,
year?
why at the end?
Because then you know they earned it. So if we paid it now,
Oh,
they can quit tomorrow,
Okay.
right?
I agree, but I mean.
So would you be okay if we paid it now and then they both resign tomorrow? Do you think that
I
we did
think,
the right thing?
what if, what if, there's a
The
big
motion
what
on
if.
that we were discussing
I
paying
agree.
it weekly or in their paychecks, we weren't gonna give them the $5,000.
Well, you did, that wasn't in your motion.
I'd say let the county pay it.
We're discussing.
Normally
how
go
it's to
through
be paid.
paycheck.
Right. But that wasn't in the motion.
neither one of them's gonna resign, by the way, unless I get hit by a truck on the way home from, you know, I mean, I don't plan on
The motion was to approve the
resigning.
$5,000 for both of the constituents,
Right. But
but
it's,
now we're discussing on how it's
How.
going to be paid.
so, I mean,
And then I will
Let's
change my
vote, let's
motion
vote.
on how we wanna pay it, if you'd like.
Change your motion, just make another motion.
Let's vote.
First, you have to see if you're going to allow it.
Correct.
Yeah, you might as well get that out of the way. If you wanna get into the weeds about how you pay it, then maybe that's number two. You need to get into the weeds till you prove the first thing.
So, I made the motion to pay the $5,000 supplement. I didn't remember who seconded. Do we have a second?
I seconded it.
Josh seconded it. Okay. Seconded by Josh Blue. Any other discussion? Alright, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, aye. Motion passes 6-1. So, huh? Okay.
So now we have a discussion on how to pay it,
You have enough.
or do I need
You
to
have
make a
enough.
motion on how to
You
pay
know how to
it?
pay it. It's your discretion unless they tell you otherwise. You have that discretion or how do you?
I don't want that. I didn't wanna.
Well, Josh seems to think it's sticky to do it in their paychecks, so what are the other options?
Lump
Well, I
sum or
know
you-
that, but how?
He suggested the end of the year.
I kinda like that suggestion, I don't know,
I don't have a preference,
That's the simplest, certainly.
I'm not
Motion to
resigning
pay it at the
anytime
end of the
soon,
year.
and I just got reelected, so I'm gonna be for the next 4 years, so.
Second.
So my
Well,
next
and-
question
Not held in the
is,
future,
if it
so.
has to be in the salary ordinance, then how do you pay it at the end of the year? we just change the salary ordinance and then shoot out the whatever's left at the end of the year?
And we would
Just
change
put
it
it in.
$5,000 stipend payable in 12/31, or last pay cycle.
I would call it a supplement.
Yeah.
That would be my next
Oh, yeah,
motion.
for sure. That means the S word.
Yeah, I don't.
I seconded the motion.
Yeah, Paul made the
Oh,
motion.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Josh seconded that we pay it in a lump sum at the end of the year, specifying